All right, here goes. So, I have something to say, and I'm doing this in a way that I'm not sure about in sending you a video of me speaking to you. Um, what this is, it's an expression of my love and respect for you, um, with honesty and sincerity. Uh, it is an introduction to somebody that I don't think you've really known. What this isn't is an argument. It's not a rant. It's it's not an accusation. Um, this is not something that is designed to stir up anger or hurt feelings or demand a reciprocal response. Um, I know that some of you may be offended by the impudence of this act that I have done in sending you this. Um, Arrogant, perhaps, judgmental. I don't think I'm being arrogant, and I'm not being judgmental, but I will play that part if need be. Um, but I do have to say this to you. Um, on November 5th, 2024, um, I I had what I later realized was essentially a nervous breakdown. And without going into the full details of that, suffice to say that I was a broken man. And I was despondent about what what America's done. And I spent the better part of one calendar year um, kind of coming to terms with that and where I am today. Um, I am a different person now. I have let go of a lot of anger. Um, Anger towards my loved ones who um, voted for Donald Trump. And I didn't know what to do with that after the election. I went to counseling and I focused on things that I could control, such as my health and my family, and other things that have really been a benefit to me over this past year, um, have been real blessings. Um, but one of the things that I've done is I've chosen no longer to engage in fights, in arguments, in rants. Um, I have faltered in some respects when I have sent you texts, news items, um, detailing what I feel are detrimental actions, uh, doing grievous harm to America, to all of us. Um, I I don't want to send you links anymore. Um, I had sent them to you. Um, I posted them on the family group chat because I felt like these are things you needed to know. And I still do. I still do believe there are things you really should know. And maybe I will send them to you. But anytime I've sent you these links in the past, it was always with the hope that you would have this eureka moment. That this is wrong. But you're not going to do that. And I have largely let that go. What I am doing now is focusing on people who need to hear that America, while broken, is still worth fighting for. And it's still worth believing in. I'm choosing a different audience to talk to. And I'm talking also to the hurt and to those who are hopeless, those who don't believe that they live in a country anymore that values them as human beings. 2025 has been a year of deliberation for me, frankly, as to whether or not I should say anything at all to you. I didn't know what I would say. I have written down notes. I have started letters, but nothing ever felt right. And so I'm choosing this effort to express to you who I am, where I am, and what I believe in. The ideals and the principles and the values that I value as an American, the things that have shaped me as a human being, as a person, as a man, father, son, brother, friend. These are what sustain me, these values and these principles that sustain me in this very, very dark time. I speak them now to you out loud as a sign of my adoration of my country, of its heroes, its history, both good and bad. Because I hope, is that we learn from our history. And I felt like we had learned. But the re-election of Donald Trump made it undermined that confidence for me. And that I guess that's what hurt the most. Since I was a teenager, around 15 or 16, about the time I started driving, I began this curious habit of every time I'm driving, whenever I see an American flag, I salute it. Give it a nod. And it's not because of any misplaced rah-rah Americanism, jingoism. It was because it's an acknowledgement of the people who have died and people who have sacrificed to make America what it is and to shape its ideals, to demonstrate the best of America, of who we are and who we could be, of what we can do. I stopped doing that this past year because I felt ashamed. And I'm no longer ashamed. That was wrong, because the American that I believe in is still here. And so I will salute anew, because the men and women, both known in the history books and those forgotten to time, they deserve it. And let me just tell you in no real order the things that I believe in and how I feel. It might be a little scattershot, but again, this is more of an experiment than anything else. I do have notes written down, but this is not scripted. I believe that the President of the United States is bound by the same laws and the same Constitution as you and I are. I do not believe Donald Trump is above the law. I do not believe any president is above the law. I do not believe a president of the United States should use the Department of Justice as his personal cudgel to punish and bankrupt his enemies, his opponents, and in many respects, the people who were just doing their job, being punished by Donald Trump because he didn't like what they were doing. He's using the Department of Justice to do it. That's wrong. It's just wrong. I believe in the First Amendment. I believe it is the first and best weapon in speaking and demonstrating truth to power, especially the corrupt and the lawless kind of power. Donald Trump does not believe in dissent. He does not believe in protecting it. He believes in stamping it out. I believe Congress is a co-equal branch of government in our system. I believe the Republican Party, the former party of Lincoln, has abdicated its responsibility, its constitutional responsibility to the people. And instead, they've done it for their party. They've done it for power. And they've done it for the servile praise and protection of Donald Trump. It is the party of Trump. I believe it is an obscenity that Donald Trump pardoned men and women who overran the Capitol on January 6th, 2021. I saw it with my own eyes. I watched it happen in real time. I know what I saw. What I saw that day was an abomination. And it will be a date that will live in infamy. It will be one of those dates that everybody remembers. December 7th, 1941, June 6th, 1944, 9/11, the day Kennedy was shot, the day the Space Shuttle Challenger blew up, and January 6th. The same men and women that Donald Trump pardoned crushed, punched, kicked, pummeled, bloodied, traumatized police officers, men and women who were just doing their job. And Donald Trump pardoned them. Pardoned. It's hard to let that anger go. I'm not letting it go. It's just an abomination. What doing that? To say nothing of his own actions or inaction that day, of inciting the insurrection with his own words. And the excitement that he felt while just watching it all play out on TV, ignoring calls from people to help, to call people off. This was all spelled out, by the way, by the January 6th committee. I'm going a little off script here. It was all laid out for all of us to see if we chose to see it. I believe Donald Trump and the Republican Party do not think that the American people have a right to health care in a fair, equitable, and affordable marketplace for medicine, for insurance. They chose not to extend the health care subsidies this past year, which made millions of Americans without insurance, which includes a lot of friends of mine. I don't see how that's a good thing. I just don't understand. In the wealthiest nation in the history of the world, we can pay for a $400 million ballroom, but we can't come up with a health insurance plan that will keep people, have some modicum of health care, the dignity of being healthy, of receiving care. They don't deserve that. I think they do. Donald Trump has been promising to deliver a health care plan for 10 years, and he's not done it, and he has no intention of doing it. He just doesn't care. I believe American troops in American cities is a deliberately provocative act designed to result in some kind of violence and chaos that will give Donald Trump the cover, the excuse to declare martial law in whole or in part. I think it's going to happen. I really do think it's going to happen. What we saw just recently in Minnesota, that's just the beginning. That's what you get when you have a newly minted, poorly trained ICE force that is acting as Donald Trump's personal police squad. It's not doing the job that rank and file ICE agents were hired to do in service to their country. There are rank and file ICE agents who are not happy with this. And it is those people that have been hired that I feel are probably going to be the catalyst for some sort of violence because they're not trained. And they have weapons. Regardless, fear abounds in these cities. That's what it's supposed to do. Putting troops in American cities is supposed to make people afraid. That's the point. I've always wondered whatever happened to the states' rights argument. I thought that's what the Second Amendment was for. It was to keep the right to bear arms against a tyrannical government. I don't know if I will ever get an answer to that question as to whatever happened to that argument. I don't believe any of us ever will. I believe Donald Trump is taking us into a new dark age where science, medicine, doctors, experts, institutions devoted to the advancement of medicine for all of humanity, I believe they are being undermined, denied, defunded, and infected with lies from really, really stupid people. People whose only qualification is a robust Google search history. Because they say, do your own research. The people who deny the effectiveness of vaccines, do your own research, they say. They are doing their own research. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. doing his own research for all of us now. This is going to kill a lot of people. This ineptitude and this deliberate turn towards idiocy in science and in medicine is going to kill a lot of people. We already have a measles outbreak. And for those thinking of going into the healthcare field, I just would like to know, of those who know of the legitimacy of those who are already in the healthcare field, if those who know about the legitimacy and the effectiveness and the rightful authority of those doctors and scientists and experts who have been behind medical research, medical advancements that benefit you and me. All of those clinical trials, all of that research, it's all gone. Research, tests, experiments, trial and error to come up with a solution to the most bedeviling of our healthcare maladies. Weak hearts, cancer, autism, Alzheimer's. Who knows what has been lost? I believe we'll be living with the consequences of this for decades, while many of us won't be living at all because of it, because of this turn towards a really dark new age where ignorance is a virtue. It's a calling card. I believe the American people are a generous people. We have been a force for good in this world, even when we faltered, even when we struggled, a weak economy, a terrorist attack. We still helped feed and care for the malnourished and the dying and the suffering throughout the world. If there's a natural disaster, America has always been the first there. A lot of that was done through USAID, and that's been shut down by Donald Trump. It literally saved lives. Literally saved lives. And Donald Trump killed it because he didn't believe America should be doing that. I was part of a generation of children, we who are now parents and some of us grandparents, a generation of children who learned the values of civility, kindness, a love of learning about new, unexplored worlds of knowledge on PBS, the Corporation of Public Broadcasting. Sesame Street, The Electric Company, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, countless documentaries, Ken Burns documentaries. The Civil War was a watershed moment for me, for all of America. That was on PBS. And that organization has been deliberately starved to death by Donald Trump and Russell Vought, because they don't like what they say. They disagree with the ideas and the histories expressed and taught and shown. And they trump up all sorts of bogus lies about points of view and about their left-leaning philosophy and ideology. Mr. Rogers wasn't about ideology. Ken Burns teaching us more about the Revolutionary War than you and I have ever known. That's not ideology. That's not a left-leaning bent. That's an American bent. That's somebody who is trying to teach us about ourselves. And Donald Trump doesn't believe in that. He doesn't believe in it. He doesn't want people to know this stuff. I believe Donald Trump will continue to float the idea of a third term. I've been told that that's impossible because he's constitutionally not allowed to run for a third term. But where does Donald Trump show any sort of deference to the U.S. Constitution? And the Republican Party, as it stands now, is not going to say no to Donald Trump. So why not run for a third term? A constitutionally disallowed third term. But he's going to come up with an excuse to do it. I believe immigrants and migrants and people of color and homosexuals and transgender people and black and brown, poor people, criminals too, I think these are all human beings. I think they all deserve due process, as it states in the U.S. Constitution. I do not believe Donald Trump is just rounding up criminals. He is not rounding up, snatching off the streets, the hardened criminals. He's taking children, and he's taking parents, and he's taking people who have been in this country paying taxes and being a pillar of their society and a credit to the American experiment. They are being snatched and they're being deported for no other reason but because Donald Trump doesn't want them here. These are all facts. None of this is hidden. This is all front and center. If you just hear it. I'm getting a little worked up. Let me try to take it back a few notches. My daughter's one of her best friends was at a local Atlanta mall. This is in February of 2025. She was there with her mom, who was in a wheelchair. And while they were in the mall, two ICE agents approached her, the both of them, and asked for their identification, asked if they were American citizens. They are American citizens, both of them. And they didn't show them their IDs because they don't have to. These two ICE agents followed this young teenage girl, 16 years of age, the same age as my daughter at the time. They followed her and her mom out to their car in the parking lot. Now, I would think that girl, my daughter's bestie, I would think that really scared her. She's American, by the way. She just has brown skin, darker skin. That's why they followed her. I don't believe that's right. That's not right. It's not right to give a child fear like that. It's not right. And Donald Trump is doing this because he does not like these people. He does not value their humanity. His policies, his rhetoric, are about humiliating them and dehumanizing them. Got it. He said it in 2024 when he made the claim that immigrants were eating dogs and cats. You all heard this. You all heard it. You all heard him talk about shithole countries that he didn't want in people in America. That he only wanted the good countries, the Norways, the Denmarks, the South Africans, white people. He wants the white people. He doesn't want these brown and black people. This is just who he is. This is who he has always been. This is the man who began his presidential campaign claiming Mexicans were mostly rapists and killers. It's not hidden. I believe this dehumanization is gutless and cruel. In opening up alligator Alcatraz, they all laugh about how these people are treated in these camps. And make no mistake about it, a detention center is a concentration camp, guys. And we have them in America. In America. There once was a saying called Irish need not apply. It was a very popular phrase, I believe, at the turn of the century, the turn of the 20th century. Being of Irish descent, I find that remarkable. Remarkable that many of those ancestors of immigrants, who, by the way, may not have been brown or black, but they were certainly poor, and they were certainly seen as a blight on America. And yet they persisted, and they made it, and they became a part of America, the melting pot. And immigrants just kept on melting that pot and just kept coming. And in the course of the 20th century, after the Second World War, when America was becoming the superpower that it is, and became a force and used that authority in the world for good as much as possible, and a lot of bad. But we welcomed immigrants then, and we welcomed them as knowing that they were going to make America better, that they were going to contribute. And they have. They have. But Donald Trump doesn't believe immigrants can contribute. Not brown ones, not those from shithole countries. It's got to be the right kind of immigrant. That's wrong. That's racist. It just is. I don't believe that snatching immigrants and undesirable people off the street without due process, I don't believe that's legal. I don't think that's moral. I don't think that's American. I want to read you a passage of one of those disappearings. This is a narrator who's witnessing this event. One such event. Worst were the disappearances. One day, we never knew, worse were the disappearances. We never knew whether these people who had disappeared had been spirited away or had gone into hiding before they could be snatched themselves. Certainly public arrests with no attempt to conceal what was happening were becoming more frequent. One day, a truck was parked in front of the fish market. Into the back of the truck were climbing men, women, and children, all wearing a yellow star. This came from the hiding place, Corrie ten Boom. She was a Dutch woman who, along with her father and her sister, took in Jews after Germany invaded the Netherlands. Took in Jews and hid them in their house. They were eventually found out, and the father died shortly after, I think, and the other sister died in the camps. Corrie ten Boom herself lived and became a wonderful example of forgiveness, but also an expression of what Christianity is supposed to be about. I've always wondered if there are immigrants in this country right now being hidden away in someone's home. I think Donald Trump's top advisor is Stephen Miller. When it comes to immigration and foreign policy, and the way he speaks and what he says and how he says it, I believe he is a full-blown Nazi. And if he's not a Nazi by that name, he is a Nazi by another name. He is a full-on white nationalist, Christian nationalist. I do not believe Trump is Hitler. I believe that comparison is woefully now out of date, because Donald Trump is Donald Trump. He is his own brand of fascism. I believe that there are voices in the Republican Party that are not for every American, every human. There's one such guy named Nick Fuentes that Donald Trump has met with, listens to. And indeed, a lot of Republicans, conservative Republicans, Trump Republicans, listen to Nick Fuentes, who is a white nationalist, who does not believe women should have the right to vote, who believes that women should just be in the kitchen having children. I've always wondered what my nieces might think of that. I know what my wife and my daughter think of it. It's not printable here. But to deny basic rights to women, these are ideas that are now out in the open within the Republican Party and within this sphere. And let's also remember that Donald Trump himself has spent a lifetime of belittling women. Quiet piggy, he said on camera to a reporter, to a woman reporter. He called her a pig. The President of the United States. I just can't imagine how anybody could think that's a good thing. There's also reports of Republican groups, young Republican groups, who've been engaged in chats that have regularly praised Adolf Hitler and Nazism. This is a problem. There's a lot of problems in the Democrats on the left, but there's a big problem here. And it just so happens that Donald Trump is pretty supportive of these ideas. His policies say so. His words say so. His actions say so. The greed and the corruption of Donald Trump is breathtaking, audacious, and entirely conspicuous. It's all right there. The cryptocurrency scam that he is making billions of dollars, the coercion of companies and countries for money, the demanding of money from media companies. He says he gets them to pay him. Universities pay him. I believe Donald Trump is looting us all, and it will take libraries of books just to tell how much he has stolen, how much he has grifted, how much he has extorted from American treasure. It's breathtaking. It really is. The level of criminality that he just does out in the open. And he comes up with the flimsiest of excuses, the flimsiest of reasons that just do not hold any water. Sure, he'll take a jet from Saudi Arabia and then keep it for himself. The narcissism, the pettiness, putting his own name on our institutions, on the halls of our museums, of our sacred spaces, demanding a Nobel Peace Prize when he doesn't deserve one, and tearing down the entire wing of the People's House. He just did it. He just did it. Some of these spaces that he has defiled with his own name, such as the Kennedy Center, these are sacred places that are supposed to honor the memory of those who have inspired and moved us as Americans, as a people, by their leadership, by their example, by the ideals that they upheld in their time. Bullying universities, altering and erasing our history at national parks, in the Smithsonian Institute museums, altering history and erasing history that he doesn't like and that he thinks reflects badly on America, that our history reflects badly on ourselves. Denying history is denying that it ever happened. And those who do not know their history are doomed to repeat it. And when you start to deny history, when you start to deny the story of an entire race of people and their history, that's not America. That is not America. And that is wrong. It's immoral and it's wrong. The kind of things that I know in my heart, that I know is truth, those are the kind of things that I read in the pages of National Geographic growing up, in the pages of the Smithsonian Magazine, in the volumes of history books that I read as a kid, as a teenager, as a student, and now as an adult. The learning of all sorts of history that I never knew. The bad stuff too. This all contributes to the overall story of what America is, what it used to be, where it has changed, where it has evolved, where it has improved, where it has done the work of creating a more perfect union, not a perfect country, but a more perfect country. Meaning that the work is always going on, that it never stops, that we keep trying better. We're not trying better. We're doing worse now. I believe Donald Trump is a fascist. I believe he is the leader of a political movement that exalts America on the merits of nativism, which is to say, white people. I believe Donald Trump's fascism denies the rights of the individual and of undesired groups of people, whether they be gay, transgender, the sick, the poor, the disabled. You know, in his first term, Donald Trump made fun on camera of a disabled man. And then I've had people explain that, oh, that he always does that about it for everybody, not just disabled people, but everybody. I've never seen him do it since. And I think you might know the imitation I'm talking about. Look it up. Sorry, I'm taking on an edge. Let me step back. Donald Trump is centralized all the power towards him. That's not the way our government is supposed to work. Because he is a dictator, and he's demanding that all power, all authority rests with him and with him only. And that's not America. That is fascism. He is trying to take over the independent press. He is finagling ways to get friendly voices, friendly perspectives that would look favorably upon the administration and its actions in mainstream news. The reputation of CBS News, the home of Edward R. Murrow and Walter Cronkite, is now being run by people who promise only to share the good stuff for Donald Trump and not piss him off. That's not a free and independent press. That's fascism, stamping it out. I believe Donald Trump's fascism wants to keep you confused. It wants to stoke chaos with an abundance, an ocean of lies. And it's only going to get worse with AI. I believe his fascism suppresses dissent. He is openly surmised about shooting protesters like me. He would shoot me because I am protesting his actions, his crimes as an American president. He would shoot me because I dissent. That's un-American. That's wrong. And his fascism is one of conquest. Kidnapping a foreign leader of a sovereign nation is that's conquest. Openly fantasizing and discussing the military conquest of Greenland, of Canada, of Cuba, of Mexico. This is conquest. This is what Hitler did. This is conquest. This is fascism. This is Donald Trump, fascist. It's not about the fentanyl. Venezuela is not about the fentanyl. It's about the oil. And Donald Trump said so. And by the way, if we attack Greenland, that's the end of NATO. And if you don't know what NATO is, kids, it's the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. And it has been an organization since the end of the Second World War that has been built upon the premise and the truth that democracies don't shoot at each other. And for that very reason, we have enjoyed a stable, for the most part, stable 20th century since the advent of NATO. We have kept oppressive dictators at bay. We kept the Soviet Union at bay. And we have kept other entities at bay through solidarity by ideals of a commitment towards democratic ideals of self-government. And that is something Donald Trump doesn't want. Vladimir Putin does. He wants NATO to go away, too. I also believe that Donald Trump's fascism, and indeed just Donald Trump, is a mockery of Christian faith. And I think he mocks Christians themselves. He uses them. He uses them for cover. He uses them for votes. And I believe his actions, his words, his behavior, his crimes, his immorality are antithetical to the example set by Jesus Christ, the gospel that I try to live by. I'm going to read you something. This is from Matthew chapter 25, verses 31 through 40. When the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the angels with him, he will sit on his throne in heavenly glory. All the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate the people from one another as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. He will put the sheep on his right and the goats on his left. Then the king will say to those on his right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me." Then the righteous will answer him, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go to visit you?" The king will reply, "I tell you the truth, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers of mine, you did for me." Then he will say to those on the left, "Depart from me, you who are cursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me nothing to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me nothing to drink. I was a stranger, and you did not invite me in. You did not accept me. I needed clothes, and you did not clothe me. I was sick, dying, in prison, and you did not look after me." They also will answer, "Lord, when did we see you hungry or thirsty, or a stranger, or needing clothes, or sick, or dying, or in prison, and did not help you?" He will reply, "I tell you the truth, whatever you did not do for one of the least of these, you did not do for me." And I cannot separate that word from what is happening right now in the United States of America when it comes to minorities, when it comes to the oppressed, when it comes to the poor, to the sick, to the immigrant, to the migrant. The math does not math. Now that I've gone through all of this, and I applaud you if you're still watching, What am I to do going forward? I will read you something else, and that is Ephesians chapter 5, verse 8 through 17. For you were once darkness, but now you are light in the Lord. Live as children of light. For the fruit of the light consists in all goodness, righteousness, and truth. And find out what pleases the Lord. Have nothing to do with the fruitless deeds of darkness, but rather expose them. For it is shameful even to mention what the disobedient do in secret, but everything exposed by the light becomes visible. For it is light that makes everything visible. This is why it is said, "Wake up, O sleeper, rise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you." Be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity, because the days are evil. What am I to do? I am going to spend the rest of my life fighting Donald Trump. I will spend the rest of my life fighting the minions of Donald Trump. And I will spend the rest of my life eventually fighting the memory of Donald Trump. Because there will be attempts to lionize, there will be attempts to whitewash, there will be attempts to change history. And there will be attempts to just repeat the same lie over and over and over and over and over again until you don't know what's true and what's not true about Donald Trump's reign. I will be part of that group. I will be part of that generation. I will be part of those Americans who are going to spend the rest of their lives not letting that be so. I will be doing it by the written word. I myself will be doing it through teaching. I will be doing it through public speaking. This is my own best way to serve my country right now. In meeting the need, meeting the crisis of the possible dissolution of the United States of America. I will do my part in making sure that Donald Trump and his crimes will never be forgotten, will never be altered or denied by those who seek to distort our own history. I would ask of you, what are you to do? And I would say, renounce him. Renounce Christian nationalism. Renounce the bigotry. Renounce the cruelty. Renounce the policies, the rhetoric that does not assume some modicum of respect and dignity for the least of these, for the minorities, for the immigrants, that we are that we are treating as less than. I would ask that you speak up. I would ask that you speak up amidst your family, amidst your friends, in your church, in your job. I would ask that you do not vote for those who remain a party to this. But I know that that is all very unlikely. It's probably a lost cause. But I learned from another avenue all about lost causes. This is a picture of Jimmy Stewart that I had sent to Mr. Stewart back in 1992. And I sent him a picture of him confronting Senator Payne, a character played by Claude Rains in the 1939 film Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Jimmy Stewart plays Jefferson Smith, who is this young junior senator who runs afoul of a conspiracy of corruption within the United States Senate. And Claude Rains' character, Senator Payne, was previously a paragon of virtue for young Jefferson Smith. But he was a part of this criminal enterprise that was being conducted by a businessman named James Taylor, played by an actor named Edward Arnold. And James Taylor is represented in the film as this boss, this lord over senators. He influenced and controlled key senators in the story, including Senator Payne. And James Taylor's machine crushed the opposition, the stand that Jefferson Smith made on the floor of the Senate in that movie, in the famed filibuster scene. And he was overwhelmed with an avalanche of trumped up lies, of propaganda designed to undercut the heroic stand that Jefferson Smith was making. This big dramatic scene where these carts of letters full of people who were denouncing Jefferson Smith, when in fact people were actually cheering him. It was just they were being suppressed. But yet Jefferson Smith persisted. And he said to Senator Payne in his raspy voice, as only Jimmy Stewart could do in that film, when he's confronting Mr. Payne, he says, "I guess this is just another lost cause, Mr. Payne. All you people don't know about lost causes. Mr. Payne does. He said once they were the only causes worth fighting for, and he fought for them once. For the only reason any man ever fights for them, because of just one plain, simple rule: love thy neighbor." And in this world today of great hatred, 1939, Hitler had already crushed Poland. And in this world today of great hatred, a man who knows that rule of love thy neighbor has a great trust. And you know that you fight harder for the lost causes than for any others. And yes, you'd even die for them. I am ready to do just that for these values that I hold, for what I believe are being trounced on and trampled by Donald Trump. But insofar as any expectations for you, this is another aspect of how I have changed. I am releasing you from my expectations. You are on your own journey as an American. You make your own choices, not just in the vote, but in when you speak up, and when you remain silent, and what you speak up for, and who you speak up for, and why, and when. You are an individual who has a vote, a point of view, a perspective, a voice that I respect, because you are an American too. as I hope you respect mine, and that you respect in others. But your story going forward is your own. I will still pray for you. I have always loved you. But I'm no longer waiting or hoping or expecting you to finally see that Donald Trump should never have been reelected. The consequences of electing and supporting a repugnant, unprincipled, immoral human being like Donald Trump, those consequences are here. And in the future, when I help tell the story of what happened here during these days, I will not spare the truth. Because I know that a reckoning is coming of how Donald Trump was allowed to do what he has done and what he will do. A reckoning of who let him do this, of who denied the wolf at the door. People who should know better, who should have known better. Those who looked the other way when the criminality, the racism, the hate, the misogyny, the criminality, the corruption, it's all right there. It's all right there to see. But some chose to look away. Some cheered the crippling of America's moral authority when it's needed the most in this dark and dangerous world. And this reckoning will be done in the history books. It will be done in the arts, and it will be done in the discourse that will create American memory. And I will do my part. I will do it for my children. I will do it for my grandchildren, should I have any. I will do it for my nieces and nephews. I will do it for my friends, and I will do it for their children. But I'm not going to continue sending you links. I'm not going to prod you. I'm not going to ask you questions, hoping to get a response of recognition out of you, because it doesn't help. It doesn't help you, and it doesn't help me. And so I'm not going to do that, because I'm releasing you from those expectations, and I'm just going to love you. I'm going to say something that I've never said before in my life, and I never thought I would ever have to say it. But I don't know if the United States of America is going to make it. I don't know. But I believe in America. I believe in its ideals. I believe in its principles, even the ones that we've never fully lived up to. I believe that America has been a shining city on a hill, as embodied by the best of us, by our heroes that inspire the world, by George Washington, by Abraham Lincoln, by Martin Luther King, by Rosa Parks, by countless of people who have made a difference for the betterment of the world, not just for America. I think of the best of what America has given the world, and it just makes this realization all the more crushing. And that is, America is no longer the leader of the free world. We are now a country that is feared by our allies. Character matters. Integrity matters, truth matters. I believe that Donald Trump is a wicked man, and I don't use wicked lightly. I believe he is right out of central casting. He is a modern-day King Herod, who also, by the way, made life a living hell for the poor, for the migrant, for the immigrant, for those in Bethlehem, the place where Jesus was found. Jesus is nowhere to be found in Donald Trump and in these policies. I think we could do better. We have done better, and I will do everything I can to make it so. I finally leave you with this, and I'm so sorry for keeping you. I hope you've watched all of this, because I didn't know what else to do, and this is the final thing that I will tell you that I believe. As an American, as a proud American boy, these are words written by a woman named Emma Lazarus. Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land. Here at our sea-washed sunset gates shall stand a mighty woman with a torch, whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, and her name, Mother of Exiles. From her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome. Her mild eyes command the air-bridged harbor that twin cities frame. Keep, ancient lands, your storied pomp, cries she with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. The wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, the tempest-tossed, to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. That's all. That's etched on the Statue of Liberty. That is etched on the Statue of Liberty. And so I'm gonna leave you with that.